Well then, thanks for joining us on the Pulse on the Joy News channel. This afternoon we're asking that big question: is President Akufo-Addo still committed to the fight against illegal mining?
Maybe committed, but choosing the wrong methods.
We have details of that explosive interview with the former Minister for Environment, Science and Technology, Professor Kwabena Frimpong Boateng, as he opens up about his arrest and investigations into his work as the chairperson of the then Anti-Galamsey Task Force.
Do you feel you're being victimized?
I think so.
Why do you think so?
What have I done wrong in this country?
More from the professor shortly. Communications Minister Ursula Ozukwu is in Parliament today and is expected to address concerns with the SIM card registration process after more than 8 million SIM cards were blocked from accessing telecommunication services. While was the Speaker of Parliament affected as well? We'll find out.
But the Speaker of Parliament himself, his official SIM card was disconnected, even though it was registered in the name of Parliament of Ghana.
We'll be live in the house shortly with the latest on that. This afternoon as well, we're taking a look at the threats of terrorism in Ghana.
Northwest border as well as on our east border. A lot of people coming in, and you can be sure that some of them belong to these terrorist groupings.
And exactly how is that happening? Joining us later with thought-provoking thoughts on this and discussions with our experts. Of course, we'll be getting more on residents and communities deemed to be at risk of fighting illegal mining. This afternoon, the former Science, Environment and Technology Minister is also up for discussion. These are more coming up on The Pulse. We are live on DSTV channel 421. The Pulse is always brought to you by Global Communities Dignilu Affordable Safe Sanitation. We'll be back with details shortly. I'm blessed that Joy News is independent, fearless and credible. Welcome to the program. And you're welcome back. Let's talk about the fight against illegal mining, which has dominated conversations throughout the last 24 hours. As you may indeed know about it, the former chairperson of the Interministerial Committee and also the former Science and Environment and Technology Minister, Professor Kwabena Frimpong Boateng, is criticizing President Akufo-Addo for using what he describes as the wrong approach in fighting illegal mining. The embattled chairperson of the defunct Interministerial Committee Against Illegal Mining says he feels victimized by the Office of the Special Prosecutor over the latter's decision to place him under arrest. And this is happening at a time when he decided to go all out by naming and shaming government officials and top politicians allegedly engaged in illegal mining. With less than 24 hours to government's Green Ghana Day set aside to plant trees and also to protect the forests, Joy News checks reveal active mining is destroying key forest reserves, including the Etiwa Forest Reserve. Just take a look.
You can see how destructive the land has become, and you can see how cyanide has destroyed the water body, how the water has changed color. You can see it's all cyanide, some looking greenish, some looking yellowish. Remember, the chemicals that these people use to mine stay in the soil and in the water for a very long time. The people in the community say they are beginning to record strange diseases and they do not know where it is coming from. Matilda Asante is a native of Sejimase. She says the activities of illegal mining is making their lives miserable.
So when Nkwala na ma de bia na ni won Nkwala no because omutimi ko pit ni at any time ana afin so ye kofu ma ye nyen so no man to piota first no so de ya na mo na ka piota kwa ye no because he won so if forest no ma ye kofu ma na ye san this time ko don tun so a nyen so no so na ye poto ana afi ama ye ko ma first no tuntum ni help but ama tuntum abaha ama oda even stock e kura anya binta ma malaria no acheche ye ma no keke.
So Matilda Asante is essentially saying that they used to go to farm and drink water in the farm, but because of illegal mining they are unable to do that because all the water bodies surrounding them in their farms have been distracted by the illegal mining. Again, those illegal miners, they dig the pits and they do not cover it, and so sometimes people can mistakenly fall into those pits. And so anytime she's going to the farm with her children, she's always uncomfortable.
Mine in Galamsey no. Na unsizi. Se Galamsey ni shemu kana se yejai. Na ensu yenya ya sundri.
Emmanuel Achianotebi, also resident of Sejimase, laments that all efforts to get government's attention to the problem has yielded no result.
The cause of the problem, why we are not being able to uproot what is going on, is because of the powerful people behind this operation. You see, you arrest them and the next thing you hear is that they have been released. Nothing happens to them. 2014, 2015, there was an operation here and they arrested several, about 500, more than 500, seized over 11 excavators. That was packed at the as assembly. Before we realized all the excavators were gone, and the reason is that somebody comes in with a letter from the seat of government or from a powerful place, and then the MCE or whoever is in charge have nothing to do than to release them.
Chief of the area, Berima Okopim Bochu Dankwa I, is worried his people are not benefiting from the legal mining but are mostly affected in terms of health.
Small diseases, rashes, even formerly said in my community, you don't
in terms of health.
Small diseases, rashes, even formerly said in my community, you don't.
Correspondent Joseph Akaple, who has details of what's happening right now. Joe, let's start off with this attempt by the OSP to probe matters relating to the Inter-Ministerial Committee Against Illegal Mining. What do we know, first of all?
Fresh information we are picking from our sources indicates that there is an arrest warrant for Charles Bisu that was secured by the special prosecutor. Now, the background to this is that you know that the special prosecutor has since 2022 been investigating Charles Bisu relative to that documentary that was put out by Anas Arabia Anas. Now, that investigation is concluded, and just when he was about filing charges in court against Charles Bisu sued him at the High Court, alleging various human rights violations, among others. I mean, that matter is still pending in the courts. The courts have not dealt with it. Now, in May, specifically on 3rd May, Charles Bisu was written to by the special prosecutor, informing him that they consider him as a person of interest because of investigations they are undertaking relative to the activities of the IMCIM. On the 18th of May, so the 3rd May, when he was written to, he was asked to appear before the special prosecutor on 22nd May. Now, on the 18th of May, lawyers for Charles Bisu wrote to the special prosecutor asking that he reschedules the 22nd May meeting to the 25th of May because of the domestic emergency that he had, and so they wanted that rescheduled. Now we are told that the SP did not agree to that arrangement and insisted that he appears on the 22nd of May. Then lawyers for Charles Bisu decided to proceed to court and that they were not going to be available on that Monday. And so the OSP also proceeded to secure an arrest warrant from the court to effect the arrest of Charles Bisu. And just before, just right after securing that, then this latest writ that we'll be discussing shortly has also been filed by Charles Bisu against the Office of the Special Prosecutor. And so what we know in sum is that...
Blair, if you can hear me, this is not the first time Charles Bisu is doing this. He's been to court seeking to stop probing to the issues at the Interministerial Committee at the time. His claim was that the previous Special Prosecutor, Martin Amidu, had conducted some investigation into the matter, and that even the Special Prosecutor himself has issues of conflict of interest and all of that bordering on this case. What's the new relief in this one that we are learning of?
Yes, and so you are right on those ones that you made reference to. Those ones had to do with that documentary that was published by Anas. You recall the individuals who had secretly gone to the INCIM offices and they had filmed Charles Bisu, among others. So that is in respect of that investigation. This latest suit has to do with the ongoing investigation that involves Bisu, among others. So that is in respect of that investigation. This latest suit has to do with the ongoing investigation that involves
jointly as CSOs to the President and other officers on the concerns you have about this approach we're using towards the fight against illegal mining. It's not been yielding results over the years. What approach are you likely to take now as eco-conscious citizens?
Well, as eco-conscious citizens, we'll continue giving the message. And we thank the press, yourselves, and others who have appreciated that we are facing a clear and present danger, and that if we continue at this rate, we'll become extinct. There are food sovereignty concerns. There are water concerns. Water company has told us that at this rate, first of all, it's costing more and more to purify water, and at this rate, they might even have to import water. So all these things are going on, and action needs to be taken. Eventually, when Ghanaians get angry enough, they may decide to hit the streets. They may decide that we're all sitting at home until the government takes leadership and actually has a fight on illegal mining. Right now, I'm not quite sure there's any serious fights going on, because so long as the directors of Akonta Mining have not been arrested for allegedly destroying portions of the Tano Nimiri Forest Reserve, and rather Professor Frimpong Boateng has been arrested, the whole thing seems to me and to other eco-conscious citizens like a big joke. And let's be clear, the latest petition we had was signed by over 200 individuals and organizations. That should tell us that the concern is growing. The concern is growing, and government should take note.
It's growing, and many still look at the level of devastation to say, I mean, we can't fight this illegal mining.
We can fight it if we are serious. We are not serious. So long as there was the documentary, I always get the title wrong, so forgive me. I think it was Gold for Minerals.
The Distraction for Gold.
Distraction for Gold. Please forgive me. We had that brilliant documentary. Journalists are putting their lives on and their safety on the line. What has happened since that documentary? Has anybody been arrested? So what I'm saying is that, is there really a fight against illegal mining? When the government decides to actually have a serious fight against illegal mining, believe me, we'll begin to see a change.
Nana Boakye, let me bring you in. The way forward. Tomorrow is Green Ghana Day. What would you want to see? And are there some factors that government should, address their minds to in terms of tackling this whole issue when it comes to the fight against illegal mining?
So I agree perfectly with what Madam Sawa said, in the sense that I personally and my organization and civil society do not have anything against Green Ghana, but where Green Ghana is supposed to promote tree cover, promote the ecosystem, and then on our and the ecosystem in naturally given forests are being destroyed through concern, and then year in year I've spent extra monies to do this Green Ghana, then it becomes a bit of serious and worrying, because for us, this should only augment what God has already given to us and not destroy what God has given to us, only to plant this. And let me mention that even these plantings that we are seeing, even the approach in some cases have not been that very good, in the sense that there are places that will have full protection when they are planted there.
The place is really. Okay, we seem to be having a challenge. Not a fair or a good day for Nana Boakye, but of course, definitely we'll reconnect sometime again to have this discussion. We need to go. If there's a message for the people of Ghana on the need to appreciate the extent of the damage that's going on and why we need action now, what would that message be?
I'd say that God gave us a beautiful environment. As Nana Boakye said, he gave us a beautiful environment and he commanded us to take care of it. So if we care about what God has said, he didn't command us to build a cathedral. He commanded us to take care and keep the environment. So we need to do it. And we need not wait till we turn our taps and have brown water till we do something. Let's be angry enough to say enough is enough. Start a serious fight against illegal mining. Let us protect the beautiful environment God has given us. Thank you very much.
And we're grateful to Wolasewa and Nana Boakye for joining us with this conversation. And that's why here at Joy News we're saying #no to Galamsey. We're taking out to Parliament. Communications Minister Ursula Owusu-Ekufo is in the House today with the aim of addressing concerns with the SIM registration exercise, which has left at least some 8 million SIM cards blocked. This week, Ningo Prampram MP Sam George raised concerns about the exercise, indicating that the Speaker of the House and his SIM card has also been blocked out of this exercise.
I've had this briefing today, if possible, because we are talking about over 8 million SIM cards that have been disconnected, including even the SIM card of the Speaker of Parliament, not the Deputy, but the Speaker of Parliament himself. His official SIM card was disconnected, even though it was registered in the name of Parliament of Ghana. We have judges, we have lawyers, we have doctors, MPs whose SIM cards were disconnected. Even me, my SIM card was disconnected. Our SIM cards were disconnected. But I'm the honorable member of Parliament for Ningo Prampram, elected member. And the elected parliamentary candidate for the NDC again.
And the leader of the Stubborn Academy. And the leader of the Stubborn Academy.
The dean of Stubborn Academy. Mr. Speaker, no. The Stubborn Academy is insisting that the National Identification Authority must provide us Ghana cards. Because, Mr. Speaker, it is important that the minister briefs this House, even if possible today, because people's livelihoods have been affected. And people's more money they use for their transactions has been stuck. You understand me? On their cards. And Mr. Speaker, it is important that this House takes into consideration that the National Identification Authority has failed to issue any Ghanaian citizen a Ghana card in any district NIA office since December 2022. And so it is not the fault of the Stubborn Academy that we've not been able to register our SIM cards. It is not the fault of any Ghanaian that they have not been able to register SIM cards.
So what's happening since this demand was made? Kwaku Asante is our parliamentary affairs correspondent, joining us via Zoom now with the latest on this. Kwaku, let's start off with that interesting revelation. The issue surrounding circumstances on the SIM card of the Speaker of the House. How did that happen?
So we are not so much privy to the details, but as Sam George informed the House, the Speaker of Parliament himself has had his SIM card blocked. And the minister, in his address today to Parliament, mentioned that he described that as a bit unfortunate, but said that they were going to work around it, and that if indeed the Speaker had registered his SIM card and had been blocked, then that was unfortunate, and that the NCA will take steps to fix that. He is throwing up that information out to the public that was unfortunate, and that the NCA will take steps to fix that. He is throwing up that information out to the public that
along our borders, just so to ward these terrorists who are making strenuous efforts, as we are learning, to establish retreat or refuge bases in our territory. And so the security forces are doing their best to ensure that at least they will be able to put them under control.
Elias, let's finally talk about the safety of residents. And how are they feeling now, knowing that on a daily basis there's that risk of some terror attacks that may happen within the community? We've lost Elias Tanko there, but point well made, and that's also a question that we could be putting to you, because I recall that last year you visited some of these communities, the same community he's talking about. Is it what's the name of the place again? The community in Burkina Faso, which is closer to the borders then?
B2.
B2. Right.
And it's in the eastern northern point of Ghana, very closer to Kulungugu,
right,
and of course close to Boko as well because of the borderline. So we are very close to the center of action now, between Ghana and.
Is this community an area of? I mean, should it be of an interest to our national security?
Of course,
agency.
It already is. National security, of course, would have that as as a feature of the interest. And of course, and I hear your reporter talk, in a very professional way, and he talks about the fact that there are a lot of things that the security agencies are not, not discussing and not talking publicly. But the reality is that we are already in this situation. We are already in the theater of issues, and so we need to do more than we are doing in terms of local community and non-state actors. What should we be doing? How do we position ourselves? How should we, act in terms of building resilience against this? And I think that to have a proper conversation around the unity situation in the context of what is a threat to us? Is it a threat from external sources, from Burkina Faso,
or from within?
Here? Is that what constitutes the greatest danger in terms of violent extremism? Is it threats within or vulnerabilities within the space that constitute the great danger to us? Is it a combination of the two? And if so, how do we deal with it? And so it's important that we look at this thing.
Yes, but that's where my concern comes up, the issue about cross-fertilization, where you may find, radical elements infiltrating our borders and taking advantage of first of all, the economic situation, getting some youth boots on the ground, and that should start it.
Yes. So what it is that we're having a huge influx of Burkinabes into our space. Earlier this year, we're looking at 1,800. There are several statistics put out by the International Migration Organization for Migration and others. Now we are talking about 4,000 people that have crossed onto the space. And so it is very, very likely that there would be individuals amongst them who were part of these attacks, who had witnessed these attacks, who are vulnerable to, for recruitment by extremist groups. So those are things that should guide how we deal with them. And you just asked the question of how do the citizens or local communities feel. Of course, for a long time, the way we report and discuss this has often been situated in the context of seeing them as a threat. We have securitized, refugees, and so people see them as a threat rather than people who are here and looking for support, looking for, help. And so we need to do more than that by engaging the local community to understand that this is a threat they are fleeing from. We need to deal with them in a manner that builds cohesion amongst us, because it doesn't take long for competition around resources to create its own set of vulnerabilities and security issues.
The opinions are divided as to what's happening northwest of our border. The point about Ghana serving as a launch pad for these extremists to regroup and then launch back into Burkina Faso, and others feeling that this will equally pose a threat to national security. What do you stand in?
So the fact that Ghana has been thought or believed to have been a place for launching attacks or logistics or for restocking and all that, it could be valid, and it is valid. It is also true that it doesn't take forever. It takes just a period of time for the same, place to be used as, a center of violence, a center of attacks. And so it depends on how we respond to the issues, and it depends on what vulnerabilities exist in the space. For significantly, so far, we have seen enough evidence that Ghana has been used as a place for organizing and mobilizing logistics and support, and for restocking and for resting. And that it's still a feature here. But at the same time, we're seeing Ghana that possibly could be used as a place, to launch attacks and all that. And at the same time, we're seeing individuals in this space who have been recruited to join extremist groups. Because the fact that many people have joined extremist groups, and there's still many individuals who have links and contacts with extremist groups in this space. So it is not exclusively one, purpose for, Ghana has been used for. It's several, I think. And over time, these things are evolving. Security is quickly evolving. And so we need to be up to date, up to task to ensure that we are ahead of the curve and how it evolves.
Ilyasu raising a very critical point about how the security agencies are approaching this. The whole approach of communication. The government is telling us through the National Security Ministry that if you see something, say something. But they are not telling us what they're seeing.
Okay, so security issues are very delicate issues. So you give information only on a need-to-know basis. And so for that, we see that happen. But at the same time, you need to communicate in a manner that is significant enough to allow local population to know what to do, to be part of the effort to deal with security situations. And at this moment, we need local communities or citizens to be fully aware of what it is that this nation is facing, either from internal or external sources. We need to know what we need to do as citizens in terms of our duties and responsibilities. That part has not been adequate. We need to rope in the role of civil society and create very deliberate, dedicated initiatives that allow civil society to tap into it and educate local populations in terms of how do we position ourselves, how do we deal with it, how do we volunteer information to law enforcement officers, how do we deal with this issue even amongst us to ensure that we build enough resilience against it. Other than that, what we're seeing, it creates room for conjecture, for misinformation and disinformation. That could create a new sort of threat on its own. 2 weeks ago, we had reports that terrorists had come into the Savannah, some space in the Savannah region. We are talking about people, say 500 people come in. Mm-hmm. Eventually, it turned out that there were just 53 people who had come in. And they didn't come in as a group who were, coming in to attack or, fleeing from the threat. And so that's the element of misinformation can be very, very dangerous because it can create fear and panic in local populations that can lead to undesirable
Mukhtar, there's the conversation around the porous nature of our borders, a conversation we've not had in a very long while.
The issue of porous borders has been overflowed. All borders are porous.
Really?
All borders are porous within the space in West Africa. Mm-hmm. If you want to go into Togo, there are too many, routes used. You want to go to Burkina, same way. You want to go to Cote d'Ivoire, the same way. And if you are in any of these countries and you want to go to the neighboring countries, it's the same way. We have porous borders all over the place. And I think we need to go beyond just the element of the porosity of our borders as the source of vulnerability. We need to go beyond that. You see our presidents and other leaders having conversations around the threat. How are they having these conversations? And what are they seeking to effect? What kind of effect is they seeking to have? We need to talk, we are talking about interagency coordination, intelligence sharing amongst these countries. How much are we working together to ensure that we do not have a spillover? In fact, the Accra Initiative was meant to kill the capacity or the potential of a spillover onto coastal states, which includes Ghana. And so the kind of conversation we have at that level will kill the capacity or the potential of a spillover onto coastal states, which includes Ghana. And so the kind of conversation we have at that level